Welcome to the Real Impact series on Tell Me Your Story with Dennis Henson. I'm Richard Dugan, and we are here to share with you the various stories that are contained in the Real Impact book, Daily Inspiration, where and you can get your own copy, a free copy, an e-copy, by going to realimpactbook.com. And Dennis, we scroll down to the bottom of the page, and we're clicking on a link down there having to do with podcasts. And you click on that, and you put in your email address, and the link is sent to you to download. And that's the end of it as far as...
It's actually not a link. It's actually a download.
It is the download. It is the actual download.
You get it instantly. It's like seconds.
Well, there you go. You don't even have to give an email. You can stay anonymous.
Yes, you do have to you put your name and your email, and instantly the email sends you the download.
I see. Okay. And we are going to have people go to realimpactbook.com to do that. But they can also order their own copy, hardcover, paperback. And if you have unlimited Kindle, it's already available to you free. Just go look for it, the Real Impact book, or Real Impact Daily Inspiration, Dennis Henson, and boom, it's there. And it is also available in Audible, which is the reason why we're able to bring you these sound bites, if you will, each of the stories within the book by Dennis Henson. We're going to take a listen to one here in just a moment from probably one of yours, definitely one of my favorite authors, who I actually back in the 80s had the great pleasure of interviewing, Og Mandino. Yeah. I have a picture of he and I in the frame, black and white. I do not know why one of us is holding a rubber chicken. Don't know why. I'll have to scan and show that one to you one day. But it was remarkable because his book, The Greatest Miracle in the World, was one that I recorded for the radio reading service that I was working for at the time. And that's how I met my first wife. However, that's not the book or the story we're going to be featuring here. We're going to feature right now The Greatest Salesman.
The Greatest Salesman, summarized from a speech by Og Mandino. Augustine Mandino, who is affectionately known as Og, is one of America's most beloved authors. His book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, has sold millions of copies worldwide and continues to sell more than 100,000 copies monthly. Yet his story had a shaky and almost fatal beginning. Og's loving mother had a big dream for her little boy. "Someday," she told him, "you're going to become a writer, not just any writer, but a great writer." Little Og would smile and agree. To help lay the foundation for her son's future, Mrs. Mandino would take Og to visit the public library. He enjoyed those visits and relished picking out the books his mother would read him. Even before he started elementary school, Og was exposed to information on an assortment of advanced subjects, including becoming an author. While attending school, he wrote short stories to show his mom for her approval. And when he was a high school senior, he served as the school's newspaper editor. Mandino's mother planned for him to attend the University of Missouri because it had one of America's best journalism schools. But those plans were tragically thwarted when his precious mother suddenly died weeks after his high school graduation. Og, struggling to deal with his mother's death, took a job in a paper factory rather than attending college. A few months later, the United States entered World War II, and Og joined the Army Air Corps. Military life suited him well, and he quickly moved up the ranks. He became an officer and earned his silver wings. As a bombardier, Mandino flew 30 missions over Germany. After the war, he returned to the States and started looking for employment. But there were few jobs for bombardiers with only a high school diploma. After many months of endless searching, he found himself selling life insurance. His sales income gave him the courage to propose to an old girlfriend, and he attempted to settle into family life. But the next 10 years didn't go well for him or his family. Even though he worked long hours trying to make sales, his expenses were more than his commissions, causing his debts to mount. Discouraged, he started stopping at bars to drown his problems. With time, his drinking escalated and became so bad his wife took his daughter and left. Og's heart was broken. Lonely, broke, and addicted to alcohol, Og lived in a daze. He did odd jobs to earn enough money for his next drink. His downward spiral eventually led him to homelessness and a sidewalk for a bed. Having hit rock bottom, one cold winter morning, he happened by a pawn shop. Glancing in the window, he spotted a small handgun. The price on the handle read $29. He pulled out 3 $10 bills from his pocket, all he had left in the world. There's the answer to my problems. I'll buy that gun, put it to my head, and pull the trigger. Then I'll never have to face that miserable failure in the mirror again. Luckily, he decided not to buy the gun and continued to walk in the snow. After a while, his eyes were drawn to a sign, Public Library. Suddenly, his mind was flooded with memories of how his mother would take him to the library when he was a young boy, and he remembered how she read to him and told him, "Someday you will become a great author." Mandino turned and entered the building. Inside, the warmth was comforting, and as he walked through the stacks, the surroundings felt familiar. Wandering around looking at the books, he felt drawn to a particular area. When he looked up, he stopped in front of the self-help section. Picking out a few volumes, he took them to a table and began to read. He searched for answers to, where have I gone wrong? Can someone find success with only a high school education? Is there still hope for me? What about my drinking? Is it too late? His library visit was the first of many as he searched for meaning in his life. Soon, reading became an everyday habit. He read hundreds of books about success, self-motivation, and people who struggled but came back to impact the world. He also read about becoming an author. Before long, his drinking started to subside. During one library visit, he discovered Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by W. Clement Stone. Reading that book was the turning point in his life. Mandino was so impressed with Stone's philosophy of success that he decided to go to work for him. Carefully examining the pages, he found Stone's company address and mailed a letter seeking a position. Days later, he received an application for an opening. After returning it, Ogg was hired. At his new job, he strove to make a positive impression. Within a year, he received a promotion and was assigned a territory. So, Ogg went to work hiring young potato farmers and teaching them to sell insurance, applying Stone's philosophy. In no time, his team was breaking company records. Thinking ahead, Ogg rented a typewriter and produced a sales manual, how to sell insurance in rural areas. Then he sent the manual to Combined Insurance's home office and prayed someone there would read it and recognize his talent. Someone did. Mandino was summoned to the company's headquarters and assigned to the sales promotion department. His job was writing bulletins. At last he was writing. Mr. Stone was the publisher of a small publication called Success Unlimited, which he circulated to his employees and shareholders. After Ogg spent several months in the home office, the editor of Success Unlimited retired. Although he knew nothing about magazine editing, Ogg applied for the job. Not only did he get the position, but Stone also gave him a new mission. He asked Ogg to convert the paper from an in-house instrument into a national magazine. He was given an unlimited budget and the option to take whatever steps he needed to accomplish that goal. Under Mandino's direction, the magazine's readership grew along with his staff. On the day he took over, only a handful of readers and 2 employees were there. By his 10th year, paid circulation grew to over 250,000 and his staff to 62. Shortly after becoming the editor, the magazine needed an additional article, so Ogg worked all night and wrote a piece about Ben Hogan. A short time later, fate took over, and he received a letter from a New York publisher. The letter said that the article was excellent and believed Ogg had talent. It also stated that, should Ogg write a book, their publishing company would like to review it. 18 months later, The Greatest Salesman in the World was published. Since no one had heard of Og Mandino, the first printing was only 5,000 copies. Then another miracle happened. In a speech to Amway Corporation's National Convention, their president, Rich DeVos, recommended reading his new book. He told them that it would help them and motivate their entire sales organization. This triggered an unbelievable number of sales and spurred numerous reprints. In only 2 years, the book's sales reached 350,000. Then Bantam Books made Ogg an offer he couldn't refuse. They purchased the paperback rights, and Mandino received a check for, in his words, more money than I knew existed. The Greatest Salesman in the World became a classic. Even now, many years after its publication, it continues to sell more than 100,000 copies a month. Ogg's mother had a dream and instilled in her son the desire to become a great writer. That desire guided him to succeed despite the obstacles life placed in his pathway. Failure will never overtake me if my determination to succeed is strong enough. Og Mandino.
What a remarkable story of resilience as well as circumstances. Once again, sort of going back to what are the chances? I mean, there he was, ready to end it all. And suddenly, you call it divine. We've used the phrase divine intervention before in the program. Who knows exactly what it is, but things just happen to turn a particular way. And the next thing you know, the man is, he's writing this incredible book, along with a bunch of others as well. Quite remarkable. What was it about this particular story? And again, that you wanted to put this in the first edition.
Well, it met one need. It's cathartic. It's emotional. He had hit bottom. He was sleeping on the sidewalk in the snow and thinking about taking his own life. When the seed that his mother had planted in his mind as a boy started to grow, that's just so emblematic of the way things work. Earlier, you said that you didn't see things being drawn to you, you were drawn to them. But what I thought at the time is, you don't really know. You know, the universe is an amazing thing.
Yes.
You don't know what's heading towards you and what's being drawn toward your attitude. But once he realized, I want to be a writer, then he started doing things. He wrote a manual and sent it to the office. He got to know W. Clement Stone. He started doing his newsletter and wrote articles for it. By the way, there was a couple of things he mentioned that was mentioned in the story that's in the book. The story that he wrote that got him started is actually in this book. I looked up the story that he wrote, and it's one of the stories in the book. So you'll have to look that up and see for yourself. Another thing is, he said, or the story said, I don't have to look at the face in the glass. There's a poem in the back of the book called The Face in the Glass, and it was his favorite poem, and it's mine too. It's one of mine too. So throughout this book, you'll read one thing, and later on you'll think, oh, well, this is from back on that story 3 stories ago or 5 stories ago. So it's kind of an amazing thing. As you get through the book, you'll start realizing, hey, this is all connected in one way or another. So it makes it much, much more interesting. But Og Mandino's story is, to me, to go from sleeping on the sidewalk to selling 100,000 copies. You know, you're an author. If you sell 100 copies in a month, that's fantastic. You know?
Absolutely.
1,000, and he's been dead for 50 years or close to it, maybe 40. But and his books continue to sell, and the sales continue to grow because what's in his books are life-changing. And his books are also in the list of my books in the back. So, you know, I'll be reading some of his books. His writing style is what I patterned this book after, how he wrote. And it's so interesting. And so it just pulls you in and plucks your heartstrings. I really love Og Mandino. And you can see him on YouTube. I love to go and look up and watch him speak. He was such a gentle, kind, nice person who wanted
Yeah.
to help as many people. And he's helped a lot of people. He's still helping people, and he's not even around anymore.
Talking about a legacy. Wow, that is quite a legacy and that's one of the things we've talked about too, you and I both, that we want to continue to help and support and encourage people long after we're gone, which we hope is a ways off. We really do. But we're excited about having had these people in our lives, whether it's having just read their books or, in my case, having actually met the man, having talked with him and sat at the table with him, and just had a wonderful conversation. It was just really cool. And I'm hoping that I can locate that and play it here on Tell Me Your Story one day. What's
Had
that?
your picture made, and you had your picture made, and a
That's right.
chicken.
And the chick, that's right. I got to get that up there. You were absolutely right. I have that in a file folder here behind me, and I know where it is. Now I just have to find that reel to reel and transfer it to the computer, and then the rest of the folks will be able to hear that interview. It was really quite extraordinary. I have a feeling that was the conversation at the age of 21 where we were all sharing around this table. And the comment, I don't know if he made it or somebody else at the table made the comment, following something that I had shared. Oh, Richard, you're wise beyond your years. Now, I'm humbled by that because I never considered myself to be real wise. I mean, it's just how I think. I mean, we all have those moments of clarity when we share something and people really resonate with it. And one of the first thoughts that came to my mind was I was 21 and they're saying this now. I'm only 21. What's going to happen when I'm 31, 41, 50? Will my wisdom keep up with my age? Or have I peaked and now it's downhill all the way?
Well, it will if you form the habit of reading something positive every day. I'll guarantee it.
There you go. There you go. That's the solution right there to make sure that your wisdom continues to grow, is to read
Right.
something positive every day. We're going to take a quick break here on Tell Me Your Story, the Real Impact series, a daily inspiration. We hope that you'll get yourself a copy by going to realimpactbook.com and click on the link at the bottom. And we hope that you will do that, as well as click on the other links that are there, just to look around. Well, just have a look and see what else is there. Maybe even pick up a copy for yourself, a hard copy, hardcover or paperback, or Audible of the Real Impact series here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, along with Dennis Henson, here on the Real Impact series, daily inspirations on Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world. And I have to say that, Dennis, you do present for us, whether it's through Og Mandino's work, and in this case, the story of the greatest salesman, which was really an incredible story, and what a beautiful turnaround for him and for all of us. But also in terms of what we're doing here to try to give people, the thought that the word that comes to mind, give people the gold. All right. And supposedly gold is considered to be one of the most valuable precious metals on the planet. I'm not sure how it compares to platinum or anything else, but nonetheless, and it's right there between those covers of the Real Impact Daily Inspiration book, whatever form you get. And it's remarkable that we have all of this at our disposal. I think of Earl Nightingale, for example. Earl Nightingale Conant, that company that distributed back then books on cassette. I have Dr. Leo Buscaglia book, one of his books on love. I have Dennis Waitley, one of his books as well, and maybe one or two others. I was a member of that club, and it was really kind of cool to get those in the mail and wonder, ooh, what's going to be on this tape? You know,
Right.
what am I going to get from this one? You know, and I still consider that reading. That is to me still, it's still reading.
Right.
So it's very cool.
The story of Earl Nightingale is in the book and how that industry started, how he started it. So that's another story that we may consider talking about because
Oh,
it was really an amazing story. He was almost killed at Pearl Harbor. He was injured really, really badly. And most people don't understand the physical imperative that he had to deal with.
hmm.
Yet he still became extremely successful in spite of it.
Yeah. And I know that process of recording a book, even back then, because it was analog. You know, you were working with reel to reels or cassettes or what have you. And matter of fact, I had a reel to reel, I had a cassette player, I had a cassette duplicator. And then when the computer came along in the mid 90s, I got a printer, I got cassette labels, and I designed my own labels for those cassettes, and so on and so on and so on. So I understand the process that it took then. It's even easier now, and you can even have more fun with it because you can incorporate, like what we heard in one of our programs previously, in regards to the lamp, the magic of the lamp, the mystery of the lamp. That particular story was well produced. First of all, the woman that read it what did a fabulous job, in my opinion. But then you had this nice, perfect music that was played underneath. That first of all wasn't from a producer standpoint wasn't distracting. It was enhancing. And you really could get into that particular story, even though it was only about 2.5 minutes long. It was really nice. And what we can do today, the dramatization of the book I've talked about many times, the goal. It's like listening to radio theater. That's one of the beautiful things about where we are today and how we can put all that together. It's really exciting. Do you think that as we move forward, one of these days, maybe we will see more and more of these stories, these kinds of books that you are writing? And of course, this is just the first in a series that you are creating of the Real Impact Daily Inspiration. That maybe we'll have a little audio clip from the various individuals, be they well. I mean, even if one is not here with us anymore, we have a lot of stuff on, like you were saying, YouTube with Og Mandino. You go and you can listen to him talk, and incorporating things like that. That not only helps us to understand their inspirational message, but helps us to really get to know them as an individual. To me, that's exciting.
It is. When I was writing this book, I learned something. One of the stories is about the Andrews sisters. And I grew up not knowing the Andrews sisters. We watched Lawrence Welk when I was a kid. The Lennon sisters were the only trio that I knew anything about. I didn't even know I'd ever heard of anything by the Andrews sisters, although everybody has,
Yeah.
because every Christmas, most of the Christmas music you listen to has the Andrews sisters on it. You just don't know it because
Yeah.
all the Bing Crosby recordings have them backing him up.
Hmm.
Very, very popular still. But when I was writing the book, I got to know the girls and they're all dead.
Mm.
And you actually start to have feelings for these people who are long gone,
Yeah.
which is very amazing. And like with Og Mandino and uh, Napoleon Hill, when you're reading and learning about what they taught, it's like you're plugging into their mind. Their brain waves are coming to you, and you're interacting with them, but they're not here anymore. So it's kind of an amazing thing. It's kind of like you were talking about quantum physics. When you really get into quantum physics, you realize that nothing that you believe is probably true, that things are not the way you think they are. because you're the way you observe things actually changes how they are. And quantum physics proves it. So it's, I learned an awful lot doing this book. I probably learned more than anybody that'll read it. But there's still a lot there for people to take and help change their life. It's going to make a lot of difference in a lot of people's lives and move them into a better direction.
I mentioned before that you have gold in them thar pages. And what that makes me think of your role, you've been the miner. You've been panning for gold, and you got the gold out of all the rocks and the sand and the water and all that stuff, and you put it together for the rest of us to partake of. And and each one of us can do that. We can do the panning for gold. In this case, you don't have to because it's right there between those covers. But if you're really wanting to go after something, that's when you do your own gold panning. I think that's an appropriate metaphor to use. That we're all miners, if you will, of gold or that precious metal or what have you that we like to have. Happiness, is another form of gold, if you will. And you
Well,
talked. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, whatever your desires are like gold or diamonds or whatever, because getting them is worth more than gold or diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
Receiving, I know when I was a kid in high school, I heard a drum section and it just totally changed my life. I would do anything to become part of that drum section. And I went from a failing high school student to going to college, getting a master's degree, working on my doctorate. That would have never happened had I not attended that concert that day and heard that drum section put on that show.
Mm.
So it's just amazing what you can do when you know what you want.
Obviously,
and
yeah.
part of this book is it makes you figure out what is it I want so that you can use the magic formula to get it. You see, with Aladdin's lamp, it was like this. Once he found the lamp and rubbed it, he had to make the wishes. If he didn't make the wishes, he got nothing.
Yeah.
Rubbing the lamp and seeing the genie, that's nothing.
Yeah.
The genie made him. What do you want?
Yeah.
He had to come up with his wants. And that's what this book's going to do. It's going to say, what do you want? You got to decide what you want. And then here's how to get it. Here's how to get whatever it is. Here's how to get it.
Absolutely. Real Impact Daily Inspiration is the title of the books, filled with stories and poems and quotes and book lists. In a previous program, we talked about, actually shared with you Abraham Lincoln's reading list. Now, it wasn't as comprehensive, unabridged, but it certainly was of those books that he felt were significant. And it's fascinating to see. I go back sometimes to try to find those books that I have read. My list would not be nearly as long, I don't think, as Abraham Lincoln's. But by the same token, the books that I have read were inspiring. They were entertaining. Science fiction has always been a favorite of mine, and there have been quite a number of those, especially the ones that have been made into movies, which has been kind of nice. But the movies still pale in comparison to the images that are created in my own mind. I got to tell you, I've read the Dune trilogy by Frank Herbert, and I got to tell you, it was exciting what was going on in my head. And I've seen the movies too, especially the one with Neil Patrick Stewart. And I believe that was his name, Patrick Stewart, not Neil Patrick, but Patrick Stewart. And it was fun to watch and see what the director came up with and all of those people. But I got to tell you, when you talked about before about what we perceive, talking quantum physics and how we change what we see by observing it, because I remember this one experiment these scientists were doing, and they were trying to get a duplicate result. They were trying to repeat it, and every time they tried, it failed. Now they got a good result, but it wasn't the same result, and it took them a while to figure out why, and it was because they were observing it. And sometimes certain scientists weren't there, and sometimes certain scientists were in a different mood, a different attitude, and so on and so forth. And I'll share with you real quick. I had a situation when I was sitting in mass one day. I was 7 years old, a 7-year-old, and I'm trying to blink my eyes twice, really, really fast, so that I have two identical blinks of the eye. And I thought I was going to drive myself crazy. And then I realized that what I was attempting was impossible. There was no way that I would ever have two blinks of the eye identical. And it was because I realized that the universe was in constant motion. And this universe was not going to stop even for a second for me to blink my eyes twice. And so I was able to let that go and realize that every moment, every single instant in our lives is unique and will never, ever be repeated. No matter how many times I go to Ireland, or how many times I play that program, or listen to that book, or talk to you about the same thing, it's not the same. It's always, and that is the exciting thing about this life, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Dennis, we're going to take another quick break here. We're going to come back and then share a little bit more before we wrap things up here on Tell Me Your Story. It is the Real Impact Daily Inspiration series. And we hope that you will get yourself a copy by going to realimpactbook.com. And you can scroll down to the bottom there. That link has to do with podcasts. And we hope that you'll click on that, and it will give you a link to download it will help you to download your free ebook version. You also get a free copy, or if you will, a free digital copy from Kindle if you have unlimited Kindle. You can also purchase, which I think would be really cool to have and give as a gift any time of the year, whether it be Christmas or Valentine's Day or a birthday or any other time of the year. Get a hard copy, paperback. There's Audible, which you are hearing on this program as well. So we hope you'll go to realimpactbook.com as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. The Real Impact Daily Inspiration series here on Tell Me Your Story continues as we talk with Dennis Henson here. He's the author of Real Impact Daily Inspiration, with the stories, poems, and quotes. And maybe one of these days, one of these programs, we'll sit there and maybe go through a few of those quotes and maybe share and elaborate maybe a little story behind them and so forth. That's another thing that's real interesting about this process, Dennis. You could use just a few words to describe something, or someone else will do the same, and all of a sudden it elicits a particular memory in your own mind. That's kind of cool. I'll be honest with you, and that maybe you hadn't thought about in a long, long time. And these stories do the same thing, and I'm sure they do the same thing for you, even though you've probably read these stories 100 times or more, and still go back and reread them, and something new will pop up for you, right?
I've probably read them 1,000 times.
Okay.
Someone pointed out to me the great detail that went into putting this together, and they're right. I spent almost 5 years, pretty much full time, putting a book together that I thought it was going to only take a few months because I already had the materials. But I really wanted it to be good and to have a great deal of impact. And so everything you read in it, because it's daily inspiration, whether it's one quote or a paragraph, has been thought about and studied, pondered, and considered many, many times, and changed and reworked to make it as close to perfect as it could possibly be. And the proof is kind of in the pudding. If you can get 100+ reviews on Amazon and still have a 5-star rating, that's pretty difficult. I mean, that's really a difficult task. I know it is because I'm right in the middle of it. But this book has a lot more than 100 reviews, and it still has a 5-star rating. So go to Amazon and read the reviews. That's what gets me. I just love to read what people have to say about it because it's helping them.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to hear.
Yeah. You have a project that is underway to get this book into the hands of as many children as is possible. We've talked about this before. And for those who are maybe joining us for the very first time, and we thank you for doing so, share with us this project that they could be involved with for, I'll tell you straight up front, as little as $1.
Right. If you go to realimpactbook.com, there's a links on the left-hand side. And the next to the bottom one says Help the Children. And it takes you to a page that has a GoFundMe account. And you can give $1 or $5 or $50. And all of the money will be used in research to find the neighborhoods, the disadvantaged neighborhoods, and to give the books to the libraries in those neighborhoods, in the schools that have low budgets. And we want to get the book in the hands of young people while their minds are still in the process of molding. Maybe it will help them. If it can just change the course of their life by a small amount, 1 degree, it'll eventually have a tremendous effect on what happens to those kids.
Well, it's interesting how you hear this phrase quite often regarding our children, that our children are our future. So the question is, and this goes back to that core question that you have placed before us over and over again, what is it that you really want? And whether it's, a direction when you talk about the boat and the rudder and so forth, what is it that you really want? And what is it that you really want for your kids, for your family, for your community, for your state or your nation? Well, you're going to get it if you give to your kids something that can really make a difference. I know math and reading and science, all that stuff's really good, but this could inspire them in those directions because there are stories in here, if you will, about math and reading and science, and sports and entertainment and so forth. Especially that very first story in your book, Real Impact, about a rocky start regarding Sylvester Stallone. And it shows the perseverance therein and every other story as well. So I think that's a very exciting thing, Dennis. I really do.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate your help in getting this out.
Well, we're doing our best in that regard. We're wanting to get people involved, not necessarily specifically in Real Impact or in Tell Me Your Story. More importantly, we want them to get involved in their own lives. A lot of people are all so wrapped up in the lives of other people and this and that and the other thing. And it's like, well, is that what you want? Really? No, seriously, is that really what you want? Or what do you want for you? And there's nothing wrong with focusing on you. The small s, not being selfish, but it's a small s saying, I want more in my life. I want to be able to help more people and so forth.
Right. In Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, the whole emphasis of the book was money, and I guess he took it for granted that pretty much everybody wants money. And I think that's not a bad thing.
Right.
But this book is different. It's not about money.
Mm-hmm.
It's about getting a promotion or becoming a politician or becoming a doctor or an attorney or whatever. It's not limited to just money. It could be, I want to find the right person to marry. Or I want to go on this trip. I wanted to, what it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
And money would probably be involved, but using this formula, the money will just show up. And
Yeah.
and I know that because I've lived it.
Well, I tell you, I think that one of the other aspects that also comes up in this process, and it's tied to that third item of the inalienable rights. Now, it's not just three because it says among these, among the inalienable rights are these three. And I think it's the pursuit of happiness, being happy with who you are and where you are and when you are and so forth. And we talk about it in the context, Dennis, of one's life's purpose. Now, that does not mean that your life's purpose today will be your life's purpose tomorrow. It might, but finding that is going to bring you more joy, more peace, more happiness, if you will. In turn, it allows you to open yourself up. You mentioned, of course, earlier, use the word faith. You know, the aspect of the spiritual life. It opens you up to listening to that still small voice that's there to guide you. And to me, that's an exciting thing. It's like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not on this road alone. I've got someone that'll help me, and all I have to do is listen.
You know, Richard, if someone really had a desire to find what their life's purpose is, that's a desire.
Mm-hmm.
If you work with it and change it into a burning desire, it won't be long before you'll know exactly what your life's purpose is, and then you can switch from that being your desire to whatever the new thing is. So the book goes in any direction as long as your desire is something good,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and honest and helps other people. It'll help you get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we do encourage you folks. We've been doing this throughout the series to go to the website, which is realimpactbook.com, and get your copy. Whether it be the e-copy, you want to get a free copy, then scroll down to the bottom, click on that link, and away you go. It'll download for you. And maybe get another copy for a friend or what have you, a loved one, hardcover or paperback or Audible, whichever you care. Or if you have unlimited Kindle, you can get a free copy in that fashion too. Help the project out. Click on that link to help the children as well. And let's take it seriously that, you know, if our children are our future, let's do something. This is something that will help them and help you to maybe leave, I don't know, a greater legacy than maybe you thought you ever would. So we hope that you'll do that as we wrap things up here on Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. Dennis, I want to give you the last couple of minutes here to share with our listeners, having listened to the story of Og Mandino at the front end of this particular program. Again, my love for the man knows no bounds. It was wonderful to have experienced not only his writings, but he himself, and to have appeared in that photograph, which I will find, and I will show that to you. Share with us your personal insights, if you will, in this regard to what we've talked about in this program.
When I first went into business in 1975, the company I worked for gave me 3 books, Think and Grow Rich, Success, The Glenn Bland Method, and The Greatest Salesman in the World. When I read that and I read the scrolls in the back of the book, I decided to adopt them as a personal part of my life. And it's 50 years later, and I'm still using them. So if nothing else comes from this, but you go and find the book, it can be used and get it at a library and get that book and look at those scrolls, and with an open mind, that alone will change your life, and I will have accomplished something. I will have helped you out. Now, if you want to in turn help someone else out, find a book that you really like. Maybe it's Richard's book, maybe it's mine, or maybe it's a book you just read, or one of the books in the back of Real Impact. go to Amazon and find that book and leave a positive review for the author. They work really hard. I mean, there's no book where you don't have to work hard to put it together.
Yeah.
Even the ones that are made with AI, you still have to work.
There's still some work involved. Yeah.
But if you like a book, go and share it with everybody else. Go give it a 5-star rating and say, hey, this is a great book. Read it. And you will not only have made the day of the author, you'll have other people decide, oh, maybe I should read this book too. So I've helped you. I'm asking you, go help someone else. And then the whole world will be better because we talked.
Absolutely. Dennis Henson, my guest here on the program. His book, Real Impact Daily Inspiration, realimpactbook.com, the website, and until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast. Love to Lal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy. Mike, thanks for letting me be in your life. Doug, I'll see you on the other side. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.